We are coming up at the end of a decade, and that's an important thing, right? I mean, that's a huge milestone, and here on this channel, we talk about board games all the time, and so I was thinking a lot about what is the best board game of the decade? The 2010s. I mean, there have been monumental shifts and absolute monster releases this decade, but at the same time, what does that even mean? The best game? Is that best for me? Is that best for the hobby? Is that best for a wide range of acclaim? And then I thought, hey, that's a video episode where I could tackle all three of these absolutely subjective topics. So here we go. This is the Cardboard Heralds as of the end of the year, or end of the decade. Best games of the 2010s. So we have to start with the best games for me, because, I mean, it's after all my channel, so I can be a little bit selfish in this regard, and it gives you a little bit of a baseline for the Jack Eddy experience if you aren't familiar with it. So for me, I have to think about what are the games that really engage me creatively, that really shaped the experiences that I wanted to have throughout this decade. And while there are a ton of games out there that made a pretty monumental impact, from terraforming Mars, just being this buck wild strategy game engine builder to the umpteenth degree, or really tapping into niche hobbies that I love, like Flamme Rouge. I mean, after all, my Trek is back there, and man, I love cycling. But if we're talking about my favorite game, the game that probably just gripped every aspect of gaming love that I have, it has got to be Spirit Island. I mean, first off, Spirit Island is a cooperative game, which means everyone gets to have a good time or a horrible time together as you try to save the island. And there's wild asymmetric powers that are not only driven by their thematic contrast, but also mechanically they are so divergent from one another. It's just this holy union of mechanical and thematic synergy that is so wonderful. Mwah! I love everything about when you play a card for the first time and realize what this is representing, not just based off of the picture, but what is happening on the board in relation to what your spirit's doing. It is the game that has most inspired my imagination and stretched my strategic muscles in the most satisfying way of the 2010s. Which is going to bring us on over to the game that was the best for the hobby. This is the game that had a monumental impact and kind of changed what the hobby did for the better from that point on. I mean, dating back to the beginning of the decade with like Seven Wonders introducing drafting as a core mechanic in a huge way, all the way to Kingdom Death Monster, which I think marked the premier Kickstarter, Uber miniature, big box game bonanza that has just grown larger and larger since then. But if I were to venture to say that there's one game that has shaped the hobby more than any other, it has gotta be Pandemic Legacy. I mean, man, just look at the rippling effects that that game has had since its release. How many legacy games have come out, or legacy light games, or just campaign games that are all fail forward? Yes, I realize that is not the first legacy game, and that even Rob Daviau's implementation of legacy games aren't the first sort of persistent effects from one game to another that may even be permanent. But it is the game that brought it into the mainstream, and it had such a huge impact. And I think it changed the way that gamers thought about games as experiences. No more was it about a game that I could replay 8 bajillion times, like Spirit Island, but could one and done experiences, or disposable experiences that convey a specific story that cannot be repeated by the time that you're done, still be something that is worth purchasing. Undoubtedly, when gaming historians are looking at the most important games that have come out amongst the last 100 years, I honestly think that Pandemic Legacy is going to be one of those milestone games. And that is going to bring us to our third category. Yeah, we're beyond games that are just for me. We're beyond games that are important for this hobby. We're talking about critical darlings here, ones that have existed in the zeitgeist in this decade and will continue to do so long beyond it because of the fondness that gamers have for those games. And I think, honestly, if we just look at 2019, we have a very, very worthwhile candidate in Wingspan. Just look at the insane popularity and dedication there is to that wonderful game. It's beautiful, it's great, it's awesome. But I think that we could go beyond that. I mean, the undying love with which people have for Food Chain Magnate is another runner-up that I would have as a game where people will consider it their favorite game for their lifetime. But if I am thinking about the game that has had the most universal adoration of this hobby, it has got to be Gloomhaven. What else can I say about Gloomhaven other than it has brought so many new people to the hobby because of the mainstream success of it, reaching into video game channels and to other hobbyist channels and to being catapulted to being one of the best board games of all time. And it has also, within the hobby itself, received just about every reward that it could possibly have. No, I don't think that it's for everyone. But as far as a game that is this in-depth and this meticulously put together could appeal to as many people as possible, Gloomhaven has succeeded like no other game has. And it absolutely deserves that recognition. And that is going to be it. Those are the three undisputed, undeniable best games of the 2010s. Yeah, I know it's subjective and it's super silly, but hey, it needed to be done. And I know that these are far from the only games that could possibly be listed, so I want to hear from you. Did you agree with some of our list, or did you take umbrage with some of the games that we listed or some of the ones that we didn't? Let us know in the comments below. And no matter how you slice it, I just wanted to say Happy New Year to all of you out there and happy 2020s. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you as always for supporting the Cardboard Herald. Y'all are the best. If you enjoyed this video, we have all kinds of other reviews, interviews, and recommendations via writing, podcasts, and video here on our channel and website cardboardherald.com. Our content is audience supported, so if you want to show your support, please visit our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching. This has been the Cardboard Herald.